Lenders have taken over hundreds of thousands of North Georgia homes because the owners couldn't pay. Now a Channel 2 Action News investigation exposes some of those same banks bailing on millions of tax dollars owed to local counties. Channel 2's investigative reporter Jodie Fleischer dug into the reasons why and what can be done to make those banks pay up. Jodie.
Jovita, most of the folks who lost their homes during the mortgage meltdown didn't have the money to pay their bills. So we decided to check on whether the banks are paying theirs. We found no one keeps that data. So we spent months building our own database and found banks worth billions racking up millions of dollars in unpaid property taxes, the money we all count on to run our cities, counties, and schools.
All bids will consist of original taxes due.
Month after month.
Late penalty, interest.
County after county.
Going once, going twice.
Properties.
$11,600.
For the mere price of past due taxes.
So.
Like this half acre in Mableton for about $1,000. Its owner who didn't pay the taxes, the lender that took it in lieu of foreclosure.
It is basically saying to the local government, I'm going to ignore you and not pay the taxes to keep my costs low.
Frank Alexander teaches real estate finance at Emory and says banks never intended to be homeowners.
The worst day of my life.
But Sammy Daniels says a lender had no problem taking his home after 23 years.
The banks like to say, if you can't pay, you can't stay.
So we checked out whether the banks were paying and scoured thousands of records in 5 metro counties. A team of researchers spent weeks digging into the history of every property. We found more than $3 million in unpaid taxes for properties taken over by lenders.
Arrogance, greed, it's astounding.
Jeff Crawford is fighting right now to keep his home.
It's constant stress, constant.
He says banks taking homes from people who can't pay is different than choosing not to.
When they have the money to pay for it right now, they're waiting for somebody else to do it for them.
In fact, the Federal National Mortgage Association told us taxes will eventually be paid when properties sell. But it took Fannie Mae 6 years to unload this lot and its $5 grand in unpaid taxes, which the new owner hasn't paid either. And Fannie has owned this house since 2006, racking up $15,000 in taxes so far.
It doesn't surprise me that banks may say, well, we're not going to invest any more in this property. But when they do that, they're acting just like the owners who have refused to make their mortgage payments.
With a wide range of excuses, from denying ownership, saying county records must be wrong, to claiming they're just a trustee or that a servicer hired to pay the bills didn't.
What they're doing there is simply saying, I want to blame somebody else.
Clayton County's deputy tax commissioner says none of that matters.
Whoever forecloses, whoever's name goes on that property, that's our new taxpayer.
But what if that taxpayer no longer exists? Security Exchange Bank owed nearly $500,000 when it failed. Fidelity is now paying those bills. We sent lists to a dozen banks. Only Wells Fargo agreed to an interview.
We pay our taxes, and when we learn about something like this, we take care of it.
He says the bank will pay the taxes it owes and clear up confusion on the ones it doesn't.
Should every bank be doing that?
I think that we're doing the responsible thing. And of course, I wish everybody did the responsible thing.
Alexander says counties should be more aggressive with the ones who don't.
You either pay the taxes or give up the property.
So suffering budgets don't lead to higher taxes for those who do pay.
The people are suffering because of what the banks and lenders get away with. And right now, by the counties not enforcing what they should be enforcing, they're part of that too, part of the problem.
Clayton County's deputy commissioner told me his computer system has no way to isolate and target bank-owned properties right now. But there is an upgrade coming, and that's something he will consider. Now, one bright spot, we noticed more than $750,000 paid by the banks since we started checking the records and contacting them. Jovita?
And Jodie, I have to ask if you've spoken to any county leaders, because of course counties all over the state are struggling because of losing the homeowners who were paying the taxes in those houses.
We have, and obviously every single penny counts in these tough budget years, and those tax dollars are what funds our schools and government services we all depend on. Now, several county leaders have already requested our research so they can go after that money.
That is some. Jodie, thank you very much for that.
It is happening all over, from Cobb, Gwinnett, DeKalb, Fulton to Clayton counties. Abandoned houses with mystery owners bringing down neighborhoods and racking up millions in unpaid taxes. This has been called the worst housing market North Georgia has ever seen. But as neighborhoods fight to recover from plummeting property values, abandoned eyesores are hurting cities, counties, and school budgets. All new at 6, Channel 2's investigative reporter Jodie Fleischer joins us with the new trend she's uncovered that threatens all of us. Jodie?
Jovita, we started this investigation looking at vacant houses, trying to count just how many there are around the metro area. We reached out to 5 counties and a dozen cities. We found the numbers weren't the only mystery. A huge part of the problem seems to be mystery houses no one owns.
I just can't even begin to tell you how much I love the one I bought.
At first glance, Angela Christian Vaughn got a fantastic deal on this West End home, just $35,000.
The house has so much character.
Her porch is a favorite, except when she looks beyond her yard.
This one's vacant, that one's vacant, the one next to me is vacant, the one next to it is vacant.
This one across the street is of particular concern, destined to sit as is with 5 years of code enforcement citations and more than $30,000 in back taxes. But the house isn't even worth that.
I even was going to get the grass cut, but the police have told me that I can't touch the property because it's not mine.
Stunningly, the listed owner says it's not hers either.
They have never owned the houses. As far as I know, they have never even been inside the houses.
Pastor Stephen George says 2 young women from his church are victims of mortgage fraud, somehow ending up as listed owners without paying a penny.
It's just a mess. It is a real mess.
Former Governor Roy Barnes says his Fair Lending Act helped get him voted out of office. The bank lobby rallied against him. The legislation cracking down on bad loans and mortgage slicing and dicing lasted just 3 months.
The vacant houses that no one even knows who owns are all a result of a lack of leadership in the General Assembly. I never thought it was going to be this bad.
The owner of this Jonesboro home walked away in 2008. Then the bank didn't want it either.
And he came to me back last year and said that the bank had given him clear title.
Next-door neighbor Peggy Foster couldn't stand the eyesore.
So I bought it for the taxes.
Just $5,000.
You know, it'll take a little time, but I can fix it up.
Now the house on the other side of her looks like this. Again, thousands of tax dollars unpaid.
They've gone so long without doing anything to them that it's cheaper for them just to, you know, eat the mortgage and forget it. And that's what happens to a good neighborhood.
In some cases, a bank did foreclose, but no longer exists. The listed owner of this home on Ada Avenue is Omni Bank, which failed in 2009, but still owes Fulton County nearly $30,000 in property taxes.
It's a double whammy. First, they don't get any tax revenue from the house that is sitting vacant. And then, because the house is sitting vacant, it devalues the property around it, which means there's less revenue from the ones that are still paying tax.
The city of Atlanta is trying to knock down the problem.
And we are all taxpayers, so we're all footing the bill for it.
But the code enforcement director says her list of 950 unowned homes is just a fraction.
So right now, you really don't know how big a problem you're dealing with.
No, we don't. It is quite alarming. It presents some very unique challenges.
Atlanta was the only government we found that even tries to keep a list like that, but they could use your help. If you want to check out a vacant property on your street, log on to our website at WSBTV.com. We've included links and we're working on a video to walk you through the process.
Abandoned eyesores litter almost every North Georgian neighborhood. You've seen them, and we found them in Cobb, Fulton, DeKalb, Gwinnett, and Clayton counties, just to name a few. A Channel 2 Action News investigation tried to track down the owners and found in many cases there are none. And now critics are calling for extreme measures to try to bring property values back. Investigative reporter Jodie Fleischer here now with why it's so difficult to get a real count on just how many houses are unowned.
Justin, we started out searching through thousands of records of unpaid taxes, shut-off utilities, and code violations for 5 metro counties. We were stunned to learn even county leaders can't figure out who owns many of those vacant properties. And you're footing the bill to clean up the mess someone else left behind.
Sean Johnson says it's a tough chore keeping his own home looking nice when this is just a few feet away.
All you're looking at is into a burned and gutted out house.
He says sweeping change is needed if his West End neighborhood is ever going to turn around.
Every 8 months or so, the city will come out and they will put a yellow placard on the front of the house, but you know, nothing seems to happen.
That's because this home, along with these 2 across the street, are all on the city's list of houses no one owns.
I found out it was an LLC company, but they, you know, it switched 3 or 4 times.
Sometimes records aren't as accurate and up to date. and you can tend to go on a wild goose chase looking for owners.
The glut of abandoned homes littering Atlanta neighborhoods means code officers only have time to focus on complaints. So the 950 abandoned homes on this list are just a small fraction.
So right now, you really don't know how big a problem you're dealing with.
No, we don't.
Atlanta averages 9,000 code complaints each year. The city is investing in 6 new officers since more citations bring in more money, if they can figure out who to cite.
Sometimes they neglect the property taxes, so therefore it makes it difficult for us to find out who the property owner is.
Most counties have records that simply say unknown owner. Cobb thinks a couple who passed away years ago still owns this Mableton house, and the former owner of this Clayton County home walked away in 2008. Then the bank didn't want it either.
But I think because the property values in here, they're so low. I don't think they have a concern about the neighborhoods.
But Peggy Foster did, so she bought it for $5,000. Sean would love that option.
I would probably buy the lot and push the house over myself.
But he has no one to buy it from. The mortgage fraud victim listed on the property across the street would sign hers over in a second, but it comes with a $14,000 overdue tax bill.
They need to forgive the back taxes, sell it to an entrepreneur, or they should tear it down.
Former Governor Roy Barnes says counties need to be aggressive with banks and other absentee owners who are driving values down and tax bills up for the rest of us.
We had an opportunity to avoid this.
He says state legislators who gutted his Fair Lending Act should find a way to fund the housing recovery. He says counties should sue banks and trustees who don't know what they really own with all the mortgage bundling confusion.
Place a lien on the property. If you have to, you take the house.
Atlanta has started with the ones no one owns, but it's costly. $10,000 to knock one down, $5,000 to clean it up.
Financially, it does impact our taxpayers.
And the process is slow.
4 years, you know? I'd like to see the house knocked down.
Many jurisdictions told us they've started to register vacant properties, but the flaw there is if someone takes the time to register, odds are they are also taking care of the property. So the lists are missing the worst eyesores. Justin?
And so everybody's suffering as a result of this. So if you're a resident near this, if you're a neighbor, is there anything we can do?
There is something you can do, and there's something that the viewers at home can do also. It isn't that hard to look up one property. The records are all online. We've actually posted links and a video on our website at WSBTV.com to show you how to investigate a vacant house on your street all by yourself.
I like it. Jodie, thank you.